The Blazers were the better team in this game. They performed at a higher level in the fourth quarter, thus they won the game. And you look at that last stretch, C.J. McCollum hit a big shot. Gary Trent Jr., who I think sucks, he made a big shot. Carmelo Anthony, who looked in this game like the player that was with the Knicks and sucked and with Houston was terrible, but he made a big basket in clutch time. You know who did not make big baskets down the stretch? That would be LeBron James and Anthony Davis. They were ghosts when the game mattered. And you can spin it, and they're already spinning it, but let me rephrase that. Now, the better story is in the losing locker room. So we're just going to dive right in here. I've got my knife, I've got my fork, and I've got my hat on here. I'm ready to go. All right, so the question, what are your takeaways from the Blazers leading a good chunk of the game? Certainly the first half, they led almost all of it, gave up the lead in the second half, and then stormed back to beat the Lakers. This is a confidence buster for the Laker franchise, and I love it. I love it. So we like to play the blame game when a team that is favored to win loses, so let's play the blame game. Who are you going to blame? Now, LeBron James and Anthony Davis, in my analysis, both get to wear the dunce cap. Right? They both wear the dunce cap, but we'll focus in for this part of the Mallard monologue on LeBron. Right? Now, the LeBron apologist will tell you, Mallard, you just don't know basketball. He had 23 points, 17 rebounds, 16 assists. What do you want him to do? He's a human being. What do you want him to do? Right? How could you pick on LeBron James? What's wrong with you? That's why you're on overnights, because you rip LeBron James. Okay? Well, my rebuttal, my response on this side of the microphone over here, all right, this side, inside the Magic Radio box, here's my response. All right, anybody that says something along those lines is what's known as a low-information fan, and you're exposing yourself. The basketball media, part of the problem here is the basketball media establishment carry the water for Burger King. They do, right? Burger King James. It is the LeBron excuse bingo card, and a tip of the cap here to a listener who sent this in, and it's pretty good. The LeBron excuse bingo card. Somebody on social media goes by the handle Stop the Cap. I don't know what that means. Salary cap? Baseball caps? I don't know. But anyway, this person sent this to me, and I looked at it, and I said, if you picked he had a triple-double, what more could he do on the LeBron bingo card? You are a winner. Congratulations. With a wink and a nod to, he didn't have any help. He didn't have any help. He's 35 years old. What do you want from him? Yeah. To phrase it differently, any way you can pass the buck away from LeBron James and point the finger at somebody else, this was absolutely a winnable game. It was anybody's game. The Lakers sucked at a time you cannot suck. The game was tied. Blazers and Lakers tied at 90. 3:50 left in the game. It's up. It's a toss-up. Anyone's game. And down the stretch we come. It's like a horse race. And in those precious final minutes, LeBron James was 1 of 3 from the floor. Also, down the stretch, even a few minutes before that, LeBron missed a couple of key foul shots that were backbreaking for his team. Now, again, everyone loves to talk about, is LeBron better than Jordan? Where is he on the Mount Rushmore of the NBA? But again, this is another example of LeBron being unable to get it done in crunch time. And this against a number 8 seed that had a losing record, the Trailblazers. It's a harbinger of things to come for the Laker franchise. Now, part B of this, I do not want to undersell the Blazers and their ineptitude on defense. That is a dog food defensive team. There are 30 members of the monopoly of basketball in the NBA. You know where Portland ranked defensively, their defensive rating? They were 28th out of 30 teams. There were only 2 teams in the entire NBA that sucked more defensively than this year's Trailblazers. And as the old Laker broadcaster, I did like this guy, the Hall of Famer, Chick Hearn, Back in the day, if he were still alive, you'd say, that Blazer defense, that is Matador defense. Ole, ole, ole. Not on this night, though. You wouldn't have known it by watching this particular game. The Trailblazers held the Lakers to 30% shooting in the first quarter. That set the tone. And L.A., with all those big offensive stars, LeBron and Anthony Davis, 2 top 5 players, according to the Laker historians in the NBA, the Lakers finished shooting 35.1% from the floor against the 28th ranked defensive team. 28th ranked defensive team. Hand down, man down. That's what Mark Jackson would have said. How about the three-point shooting? Man, I tell you, somewhere downtown Freddie Brown is shaking his head in disgust. The great downtown Freddie Brown. How about this? 32 three-point shots, 5 of them went in. That's a 15% clip from three-point range. They couldn't even make foul shots. Carmelo Anthony, now I'm ripping the Lakers here, but Carmelo Anthony was vintage Melo. And even with his clumsiness, the Lakers still were unable to take advantage. For stretches of this game, there was one point, I wrote down some notes here because I'm a loser like that. I didn't want to forget this. At one point, the Blazers tossed the ball out, and there was a bit of a scrum. Anyway, Carmelo ended up getting possession of the ball in the Blazers' side of the court. So they were on offense. But the other Blazers, the other 4 teammates were still back on the other end of the court. It was odd because 4 Laker players were underneath the basket. So, of course, what does Carmelo Anthony do? He says, 1-on-4? I'm down with that. Why not? He shoots a 24-foot jump shot. Clank, another Phi Beta Kappa move. And Melo, he showed for large patches of this game why he was ostracized from the NBA. He was bad. He was bad. Blazers win by 7. While he was on the court, they were outscored. Speaking of bad, though, how about playoff unibrow? Woo! Anthony Davis. You smell that? It's not what The Rock's cooking up. That's what Anthony Davis is cooking up, and that's raw sewage. That is raw sewage, that performance by Anthony Davis. There's no other way to say it. What's his excuse? What is Anthony Davis's excuse for that level of stinkage? Instead of a machete, I guess whoever packs for him in the bubble, they packed a dull plastic butter knife because that's what he was. Now, he had 28 points. He took 24 shots. He only made 8 of them. 8 of 24. The man, his head almost hits the rim. And he was 8 of 24 because he loves shooting jump shots and bad shots. And if he didn't get bailed out by the officials, then forget about it. Thank God any time for him a Blazer player violated the CDC social distancing guidelines, the officials immediately blew the whistle. He was a liability when he was on the court. I mean, a lot of these other guys, the scrubs for the Lakers, also were terrible for most of the game. Danny Green, the Pope. I'd rather have the guy that lives in the Vatican than the guy that's got the name on the Lakers. And outscored by 20. How about this? Outscored by 20 with Anthony Davis on the floor, which means, using Maller math, the Lakers were plus 13 when he wasn't on the court. That they were 13 points better without Anthony Davis in this game 1 against the Trailblazers. Wowzers! That is an indictment of Anthony Davis. All right, last word on this. So the recipe for the Blazers, I give them a little pep talk here. They win game 1. I don't want them to get all full of themselves at all. Follow the John Wooden guidebook. Make every day your masterpiece. And Damian Lillard, this was not a masterpiece. He can certainly play better than that. That's the reason the Blazers really have to be optimistic. Because Damian Lillard had 34 points. You know he's going to have a game with 40 in this series. You know he's going to have a game with 50. But the plus-minus rating of plus 17 while he was out on the court. So it works the same way. When he was not on the court, the Trailblazers were outscored by 10 points. And then you've got to, at some point, squeeze out decent performances by a combo dish of other guys in the Blazers, C.J. McCollum, Hassan Whiteside, who should get more rebounds than anybody else used to with Miami, Jusuf Nurkic, all those guys. McCollum, who allegedly has a broken back, he had 21 points. He didn't shoot particularly well. Nurkic played well early, but he didn't do much after that. He had 16 points and 14 rebounds. Now, in addition to those things, the other thing the Blazers have that is their advantage in this series is they just have to wait for JaVale McGee Dwight Howard, J.R. Smith, Dion Waiters, and all these guys to have brain farts and then just capitalize, right? Just capitalize. Remember, most games are not won, they're lost. That's how it usually goes, right? They're lost because of incompetence. It's a lot of mustard off the hot dogs there with J.R. Smith and Dion Waiters and all those guys. And I will also say this for Frank Vogel, who is not the head coach. He's the acting coach. He's the lead assistant to Coach James. He was called a defensive genius by Chris Webber, who clearly has been drinking the Mickey Mouse sauce. He's guzzling it there in Florida. But Frank Vogel, defensive genius, according to Chris Webber. Now, Vogel's also an optimist. All right, lead assistant for Coach James, and he had Alex Caruso guarding Damian Lillard for large stretches of time in this game. You would have been better off going outside and taking an orange traffic cone and saying, all right, orange traffic cone, you're guarding Damian Lillard. Good luck.